Well, joining us now is Dominik Zaum. He's a professor of governance, conflict and security at the University of Reading. So thanks ever so much for taking the time, sir. Look, based on the initial exit polls, is any party going to get anything near a clear majority?
No, clearly not. And I think it will be the CDU which will be most disappointed with the outcome. They were far ahead in the polls several months ago. There were talks about the SPD scoring 10 to 15%, which was really pulled out by what looked like a strong campaign by its candidate for the chancellorship, Olaf Scholz. So the CDU will be most disappointed, and it's likely to open up some of the divisions within the party that were quite visible ahead of the choice of the candidate for the chancellorship, and that I think will make the coalition building more complicated because there are various interests within the party.
You've already said it's complicated. If we're still looking at maybe a three-way coalition, will anything get done?
So I don't think a three-way coalition will be less effective than a two-way coalition necessarily, and that's because the whole German system is very much focused on consensus building through its two-chamber system, the distribution of power across the different lender. So I don't think that a three-party coalition would be a lame duck just because of the number of parties. And the differences across three parties is not necessarily greater than across two, in particular, both within the SPD and within the CDU-CSU. They're quite diverse constituencies. There is an argument, I think a two-party coalition is quite unlikely. It's worth remembering that, as you mentioned earlier, it took 6 months last time to form a new grand coalition between CDU, CSU and the SPD. It was the SPD that didn't really want that coalition because they feared they would lose and lose and lose and would be almost swallowed up in terms of their program by Merkel and the CDU, who very effectively kind of occupied much of the political space there in the past. So I think there might be some reluctance from both parties, but especially the SPD, to go into a two-party coalition.
So to get anything done might take an awfully long time and a lot of negotiation. Look, there's a lot of talk about Merkel's legacy. She's known very much as a chancellor who can manage crises, but doesn't necessarily solve them. So what kind of a toll would you say that's taken on Germany?
So I think there are three big crises that she responded to and that are now very much shaping the political landscape. The first one was the Fukushima disaster and the decision to exit nuclear power and to have what the Germans call the Energiewende, so to move to renewable energies. And many of these issues are clearly very much at the forefront of the campaign because of the significant infrastructure requirements, the significant changes in behavior, the implications for industry, etc. I think the second one is, of course, the migration crisis, and then the third one has been the financial crisis in 2011 and the impact of this on European integration. I think in many ways Merkel has tried to solve some of these, or certainly advanced them, but there were all of them are large, complex problems, and many of the issues remain unresolved. And to some extent, her dominant personality might have meant that a full debate around some of them hasn't necessarily happened.
Hasn't happened yet. Well, Dominik Zaum in Reading, thank you very much.